Carlos Manzo, an outspoken critic of Mexico's hugs not bullets strategy, was gunned down at a Day of the Dead ceremony in Michoacan.
America, we just witnessed one of the most chilling examples of cartel power in Mexico. Mayor Carlos Alberto Manzo Rodríguez was gunned down during the Day of the Dead festival, shot at least 6 times in front of hundreds of people. But here's what's really shocking. Just weeks before his assassination, he publicly supported President Trump's anti-cartel policy and begged the Mexican president for protection. She refused to help him because he wasn't part of her political party. Now he's dead, and the cartels just sent a message to every politician in Mexico.
Historically called for the full force of the Mexican state against criminals and assassins. He also often joined police operations himself to preach by example.
What is up, guys? TYSON DELACRUZ here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story perfectly illustrates what I've been saying for months. The cartels aren't just criminal organizations. They're embedded in the Mexican government itself. And now Trump is preparing to take the fight directly to them. Let me break down what happened in Mexico. Mayor Carlos Rodríguez was attending a candlelight vigil during Mexico's Day of the Dead celebration when assassins opened fire. This wasn't some random act of violence. This was a calculated execution designed to send a message.
It was a moment of joy, a candlelight vigil on Mexico's famous Day of the Dead. Mayor Carlos Manzo joined hundreds of Mexicans from the Uruapan municipality to celebrate. And then, shots were fired. The mayor was hit at least 6 times. He was rushed to the hospital where he died.
What makes this assassination even more heartbreaking is what happened just minutes before. Carlos was carrying his child, telling him to look up in the sky, telling his kid to look at how beautiful the festival was. He made a video talking about his family, loving his country, law and order. Then he left his kid and was executed by a cartel gunman. My favorite border correspondent, Oscar Ramirez, captured the emotion of this tragedy perfectly.
Eric, this is what happens when you try to fight off the cartel, you try to fight off the organized crime, you try to do good for the people. This is a mayor that was consistently going after the cartel, the organized crime. Even in a video, he said that he wanted Trump to come in or help, and he was right about, you know, basically dismantling and destroying and eradicating the cartel.
But here's what gets me about this whole story. Carlos has been constantly going after organized crime in his municipality. He declared war on the cartels and said his city was being strangled by gang members and extortions. At least 5 different drug cartels operate in his state of Michoacan. Now here's where the story gets really significant for Americans. Just weeks before his assassination, he made a video specifically supporting President Trump's approach to fighting the cartels.
We have to acknowledge that President Donald Trump is right in his statements about security, where he says there are many narco-politicians from all political parties who have been involved with organized crime for many years and a long time.
That's true. How can we tell Donald Trump that he's wrong about that? If we all know that we've had narco governments of all colors and flavors?
Think about the courage that it took for this man to publicly acknowledge that Trump was right about narco politicians being embedded in the Mexican government. He said what every honest person in Mexico knows. He understood that young people in America are being poisoned by drug cartels, and he's willing to risk his life to support Trump's effort to stop it.
And it has to do with a combination of a lot of things. What Trump has done is light a fire on conservative politicians in our country and congressmen to have the courage to come out and risk our lives like Carlos Manzo did for his people and for the state of Michoacan, risk his life to just defend his people and defend the righteousness of freedom.
Oscar L. Blue nailed it. What Trump has done is light a fire under conservative politicians in Mexico to have the courage to stand up to cartels. But when they do, they get murdered while President Claudia Sheinbaum buries her head in the sand. The Mexican president's response was absolutely pathetic. She said she wouldn't send any military and would just let the authorities handle it. What authorities? The same local police that are either bought off by the cartels or too scared to act? Here's what really shows you how corrupt the Mexican government is.
And just weeks before, he was making videos sending to the president of Mexico to say to her, I need protection, I need help. These people have bigger artillery than what we have in our government. We need help to fight them. We need help to combat them. And the president, because he's not part of her political party, never helped them.
Let that sink in. A mayor fighting for his life against the cartels gets abandoned by his own government because of the partisan politics. That's not incompetence, that is complicity. And the people of Mexico are fed up.
As in other cases, we will pursue this matter to the fullest extent and ensure that this cowardly act is fully investigated and all those responsible are brought to justice.
But this is too late for some. Local people ejected the state governor, Alfredo Ramirez, and other officials from the funeral on Sunday morning.
Mexico's Peace Index estimates that the rate of impunity for violent crimes is nearly 95%. That means cartels can murder mayors, police chiefs, and journalists with almost zero chance of facing consequences. This isn't a justice system. It is a protection racket for organized crime. People in Mexico are so angry that they're planning massive protests on November 15th. These young Mexicans are tired of the insecurity, the extortion, the kidnapping, the recruitment of children by cartels. But while the Mexican government does nothing, President Trump is preparing to take direct action. According to exclusive reporting, the Trump administration is planning a new mission to target drug cartels inside of Mexico using American troops and intelligence officers.
Would include American troops and intelligence officers on the ground, striking drug labs and cartel leaders south of the border.
This would be a massive escalation from the current boat strikes in the Caribbean. We're talking about Joint Special Operations Command combined with CIA intelligence officers conducting operations on Mexican soil to target drug labs, cartel members, and cartel leadership. This mission would be under Title 50, an intelligence-driven operation run by intelligence professionals rather than military commanders.
Who would be running this mission? But what's really notable about this new planning is it would be largely the U.S. military and these intelligence officials using drones to target drug labs, cartel members, cartel leadership, and some of those operations could entail United States military being on the ground in Mexico.
This represents a fundamental shift on how America deals with cartel threats. Previous administrations supported fighting drug cartels, but never took direct action against them. President Trump is preparing for a much more aggressive and offensive approach. A senior administration official confirmed that they're committed to using all of the government approach to address these cartel threats that they pose to American citizens. Translation, all the gloves are coming off. While planning the Mexico operation, Trump's military is already taking action in the Caribbean. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth just announced the 15th strike against alleged drug smuggling vessels since September.
Check out this video. It shows the moment of the strike that left at least 3 alleged narco-terrorists dead.
Hegseth called it a lethal kinetic strike and said the vessel was affiliated with a designated terrorist organization. The Pentagon is treating these cartels exactly how they treated Al-Qaeda, a terrorist organization that threatens American national security. That, my friends, is the right approach, and it is about time that we have leadership with the courage to call it what it is.
So we know who they are. We know what the boats they're using. So with high confidence that we're getting the right people in these attacks. And I think it hits the cartels where they're weakest. They need to move product to market. And that market's the United States and Europe, mind you. But they're weakest in the international waterways. And so these hits, it's going to take a little while to dent their business model, but make no mistake, this will bankrupt their business model.
These 15 strikes since September have killed at least 64 people and created some serious tension between U.S. and Venezuela. Now, let me connect the dots for you because this is what I've been telling you on this channel. The cartels aren't just operating alongside with the Mexican government. They are embedded with it.
And over here in Mexico, you know, journalists and investigators and experts are saying that basically the Mexican president is protecting one side and it is basically letting the United States of America and the intelligence of the authorities of the United States to hit one particular cartel.
She's literally picking winners and losers in cartel conflicts. Look at what's happening with El Chapo's organization. The Treasury Department just dismantled 12 companies that were providing precursors to Los Chapos. That's El Chapo's son's fraction. Meanwhile, Los Mayos, the other major fraction, still has power on borders like Tijuana and Mexicali.
It looks like they're the ones that they're getting hit the most on every border border, the massive amounts of tons of fentanyl and cocaine that are being seized by the Mexican government, and ultimately with intelligence of the United States, it looks like that fraction and that cartel, it is the one that is getting hit the most. Now, we're talking about Los Mayos. Those are the ones that they are having a lot of power, let's say, on the borders like Tijuana and the borders like Mexicali and other borders close to Sonora. They have still power over here and operating with fractions like Los Rusos, that they are the ones that they are trafficking guns from the parts of California into the sections of Mexico. So it looks like Los Chapos is losing more power because that is the cartel that is getting hit the most. And
this isn't a coincidence. This is coordination. The Mexican government is allowing the U.S. to target one cartel while protecting the other. That's not law enforcement. That is cartel management. Now, let me be clear about what this means for America. When a Mexican mayor gets assassinated for supporting Trump's anti-cartel policies, that's not just Mexico's problem. That is an attack on American interests by foreign terrorist organizations.
Is it about stopping narcotics, or is this about getting rid of President Maduro?
This is a country that allowed their prisons to be emptied into our country. To me, that would be almost number one, because we have other countries. Look, Mexico has been very bad to us in terms of drugs, okay? Very bad.
Are Maduro's days as president numbered?
I would say, yeah.
President Trump understands this threat better than any politician in Washington. The cartels have been emptying prisons and sending criminals into our country. They've been poisoning American children with Fenty. They've been corrupting Mexican officials and turning our southern neighborhood into a narco state. This, my friends, is warfare, and it's time that it's treated like that.
Those Marines are in addition to the biggest U.S. military presence in the region in years. That ranges from an aircraft carrier and submarines to fighter jets and drones. The United Nations human rights chief called the strikes, quote, unacceptable, and urged the U.S. to stop. The White House insists this campaign is crucial and critical to cut off cartels and reduce the flow of drugs.
You know what's unacceptable? Allowing terrorist organizations to poison American children while hiding behind international law. The White House is right to ignore these complaints and continue the campaign. America, the assassination of Mayor Carlos Manzo should be a wake-up call for every American. This brave man died because he had the courage to support President Trump's fight against the cartels. He understood that the drug war isn't about law enforcement. It's about protecting innocent people from terrorist organizations. While the corrupt Mexican government abandoned him, President Trump is preparing to take the fight directly to these cartels. The planned military operations in Mexico, combined with the ongoing Caribbean strikes, show that this administration is serious about dismantling these criminal networks. The cartels made a mistake when they assassinated this mayor. They thought they were sending a message of fear, but instead, they've shown the world exactly why Trump's aggressive approach is necessary. You can't negotiate with terrorists, and you can't rely on the corrupt government to police themselves. Oscar L. Blue was right when he said the people in Mexico are waking up and getting tired of this narco culture. The November 15th protests will show the world that ordinary Mexicans want the same thing we do: freedom from cartel terrorism. The mayor's sacrifice won't be in vain if we have the courage to finish what he started. The cartels killed him because they feared his message would spread. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comments section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.